Hello, this is OverlordBou, and we're back with another review video. Today, we'll be looking at the new Premium American Tier 9 cruiser, the Tulsa. Now, the Tulsa will be available in 10.10. It'll be available for 228,000 coal or 19,300 doubloons. Now, the 10.10 update will be around November 10th, and I do highly recommend this ship. And we're going to be watching a replay while I go over the information of the ship and why I'd highly recommend it. And before that, let's look at the build. So for the build here, I would do main armament with the surveillance radar, aiming systems, propulsion, concealment, and range mod. Now, you can, since the range of this ship is 14.9, I would recommend you use range mod, but if you are comfortable with its range of 14.9, you can always pick the reload instead. Of course, it is your personal choice on that one. Now, for the commander build, I would always use Halsey, because Halsey is amazing. And of course, these builds are recommended. You don't have to pick them, but you can choose a build if you'd like. I would build it in this order with Grease the Gears, Priority Target, Survivability Expert, Concealment, Top Grade Gunner, Superintendent, and then Adrenaline Rush. Now, of course, you can build this in a different order if you would like, and also you are able to, if you don't want the Survivability Expert, you can always take the Heavy AP instead, because this ship does use a lot of AP. But the HE is also very strong on this ship as well. Now, with further ado, we're going to be watching the replay while I go over all the information of the ship. Alright, so the Tulsa is a Tier 9 Premium, American Premium that's being added in 10.10. It has 42,700 HP with 27mm bow armor, 27mm deck, and sides. It also has 27mm armor on its aft as well, so pretty much this ship is all around 27mm all the way around it. It has a very similar armor layout to the Buffalo and Baltimore. So if you're used to playing a Buffalo or Baltimore, you'll have a very similar time with how this ship's armor handles. Now this ship does also have a above water citadel, which is definitely, it makes it very vulnerable to citadels from battleships or cruisers if it is broadside. So it's definitely something you want to watch out for. Now the ship does have 13% torpedo protection, which is quite low. It's a pretty low TDS, but it's better than the other US cruisers. Now it does have a low HP pool compared to other Tier 9 cruisers, so you want to make sure that you're not just out there getting farmed to death pretty much, because you will die pretty quickly if you're not careful. Now the primary guns. This ship has 3 twin 203mm 55 guns. They are the same guns as the Des Moines, except instead of 3-barrel, they are 2-barreled. So if you enjoy playing the Des Moines, this ship is going to feel very similar in how the guns handle. Now the guns have 5.8 a second reload with a 30-second turret traverse. Now, these guns can fire broadside 25 degrees to the rear and 30 degrees off the bow with the full salvo. Now, this is much better when compared to the other US cruisers, and these gun angles will also help angle against 15-inch guns and other cruisers, which gives it a huge advantage. I believe 25-degree kiting angle is really good for cruisers. So having that much of an angle on a ship makes it so you can kind of quickly turn in or turn away whenever you need to be able to not get citadeled or not use much damage. Now the base gun range of these guns are 14.9 kilometers, which is why I recommend that you do range mod to get 17.2. But of course, you can always just do a reload instead. It is a personal choice on that matter. Now, the AP has the 60 through 67.5 pen angles, the same as other US cruisers. Now with these guns, it has a high DPM for a heavy cruiser, slightly higher than the Buffalo, but it has a slightly worse firing angles compared to the other CA cruisers though. Its shell characteristics are the exact same as a Baltimore, Buffalo, Des Moines, including the AP with improved pin angles. So pretty much if you like playing the Des Moines or the Salem, it plays very similarly to those ships. Like the Des Moines, the Tulsa is well suited for fighting behind islands. Her 4 forward guns allows her to bow in and apply considerable firepower to any nearby ship. And again, with Tulsa's 14.9 kilometer base range, it is a significant limiting factor in larger open maps. That's why usually you want to take the range mod. But the thing is though, when you take the range mod in the 6 slot, it offsets this weakness. Now for the secondaries. Now, the Tulsa has 6 twin 5-inch 38 guns, MK12s. It has 1 turret in the front, 1 turret in the rear, and 2 turrets on the port and 2 on the stern side. Now these secondaries have a range of 7 kilometers. And before you're thinking this is going to be a secondary build, no. The secondaries are normal, which are pretty bad for US cruisers, so it's nothing remarkable about the Tulsa secondary battery. Now let's talk about the anti-air. Now the anti-air has 5 flak explosions. The outer ring of anti-air does 109 DPS damage. The middle does 326 DPM per second, and the short range is to a 3 DPM per second. Now this anti-air is good for a tier 9 cruiser, but it's still inferior to the Buffalo and overall AA capabilities. And of course, you can always take, instead of the Hydro, you can always take the DFAA instead. But I always prefer using Hydro unless you're playing with a CV. And since it's a tier 9, I'm not really sure why you would want to play with a CV anyway, because it would be a mismatch. Now, this anti-air is a significant threat to tier 8 CVs, though tier 10 CVs will punch right through her AA. If you do have the DFAA, I know that the DFAA will help you against the tier 10 CVs, but they're still going to be able to get a strike off. Now, with the Tulsa having 27 millimeters of armor all around, this makes her very vulnerable to AP bombs and AP rockets. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for the Harkuryu AP bombs, the German AP bombs, and their rockets. And pretty much any rockets in general. Like Tiny Tims, you just do not want to give a broadside to those things. It will hurt, including the Russian CVs. Those rockets will also hurt as well. Now the maneuverability. So this ship has a top speed of 33 knots. If you put on the speed flag, it goes to around 34.7 knots. Which is a mediocre top speed among the tier 9 cruisers. Now, it does have a turning circle of 750 meters with a 10.5 rudder shift time. Now, this is a very good turning radius, only beaten by a few tier 9 cruisers. So this ship is kind of able to wiggle and move around pretty easily to get its guns into the fight, or if it's trying to run away, you can kind of wiggle to make sure it doesn't get, you know, blapped by a battleship. But again, this ship does also have an above average rudder shift time. So overall, the maneuverability is about average, but her turning circle, even though it's a tight turning circle, it's offset by her unimpressive top speed. So when you're turning, you're going to be slowing down a lot, which is really something you want to do in the middle of a turn, especially. Because if you're middle of like a heavy turn and you're just showing a broadside, it's definitely not something you want to do. Now with that out of the way, let's move on to but this maneuverability though, I forgot to mention. Since you mostly be playing your islands, it's not really going to be a huge factor compared to say like a normal cruiser, like a kiting one where you're going to be kiting out in the open, this ship is meant to be more played in like near island cover. So this maneuverability is this lack of maneuverability doesn't really hurt the ship at all. Now let's talk about the concealment of the Tulsa. The Tulsa has a base sea concealment of 11.7 kilometers and aerial of 7.3 kilometers. Now, if you build fully into the concealment, which is what I'd highly recommend, it would go to 9.5 concealment for surface ships and 5.9 for aerial, which is really good. Now, its smoke firing penalty, though, is where I think it really shines. It has a smoke firing penalty of 6.8 kilometers, which is better than, it's better than even the Anchorage, which has an 8 kilometer. I believe it has an 8 kilometer smoke firing penalty, which is ridiculously high. So this tier 9 having a 6.8 kilometer firing penalty is really good. Now, with this amazing concealment, it does outclass all the other tier 9 cruisers. And it's only beaten by a few select tier 8 and tier 10 light cruisers and the Tone. So for a tier 9 heavy cruiser to have a 9.5 concealment, that's really, really, really dirty for sure. It allows you to do a lot of sneaky stuff. Now, the ship also has very good smoke concealment, which I was just talking about. This makes it where if you're in a smoke fire penalty, if you're inside of smoke, DDs are kind of forced to get close to you. And so, if you get spotted while you're in the smoke, then you just pop that radar, and bam, you caught yourself a DD or another vessel that's trying to push you.
Support the allied target.
Now, the Tulsa has amazing concealment, and with this amazing concealment, it allows her to reposition very aggressively compared to other cruisers. It allows you to jump from island to island. You can go dark, use that 9.5 concealment. And if you get spotted, you can always pop that radar after a few seconds of waiting. Because a 0.5 kilometer difference between the radar and the concealment, it makes it very viable for you to be able to kind of like almost stealth radar somebody if they're hiding in their own smoke, and you kind of push them real quick. But again, it's a very, very, very good stealth ship. Now let's talk about the consumables. So the Tulsa has a standard cruiser DCP.
Concentrate fire on the target.
It also has a standard DFAA or standard cruiser hydro. The hydro is 5 kilometer for spotting for ships and a 3.5 kilometer torpedo detection. Again, I would recommend you use the hydro. If you are seeing a lot of CVs in a day as a tier 9, which is very unlikely, I would then recommend DFAA. But as a tier 9, you really don't see many CV matches. Like, it's very rare, unless it mismatches you into a tier 10 or a tier 8. But again, I wouldn't recommend it. And now it does have and as I was saying earlier, it has a 9 kilometer radar that is 35 seconds. You can build this up to about 41 seconds if you build into the radar. Now, this does have the same radar as a Seattle, and it's not the same as the Buffalo. The Buffalo has a 10 kilometer. The Tulsa has a 9 kilometer radar. And again, and lastly, the ship does have a standard cruiser repair party, which heals for about 6,800. If you have the repair flag on, it goes up to about 7,000 something, I believe. Yeah, it goes about to 7,200, I believe, is the... I don't remember the exact amount, but it's about 7,200 or 7,300 around there. Alright, so let's talk about my overall impressions. And again, I forgot to bring this up earlier, but I had a weird glitch going on with this replay. So if you see kind of the issues here, I do apologize for that. Wasn't really sure why, but oh well. It's World of Warships. It happens. Alright, so let's talk about overall impressions. Now, this ship has a very high skill floor and very high skill ceiling. And basically, this ship is a tier 9 version of a Des Moines with a more emphasis on stealth over firepower. Now, as an avid lover of a Des Moines and Salem player like myself, when I was playing this ship, it felt very comfortable for me to kind of play it in the same style I play as a Des Moines or a Salem, which is really good. But the thing is, you're about to notice here, I popped my radar trying to spot those DDs, thinking that they were going to be within my radar range, but I forgot that it was a 9-kilometer radar, not the 10-kilometer, because I'm so used to playing Des Moines. So I make this error here, which is going to get me killed in a bit, you'll see. So, again, the Tulsa's main assets are her excellent stealth and firepower, and her ability to set up into a good spot, which she can set up in a very threatening position and rain down consistent DTM over and over and over and over and over again. Now, due to her poor alpha strike potential, due to having the 6 guns, it limits her ability to instantly punish mistakes, while her limited range forces her to play aggressively to impact the match. At the same time, though, if you've seen like a Des Moines or a Salem player, you know, like, you can tell the difference between a good Salem player or a Des Moines player or a bad. It's very obvious in how much of an impact they put. And the Tulsa in a tier 9, it can pull those same kind of impacts if done correctly. It's a very powerful tier 9 cruiser. Now, she's also equally as unforgiving to players if you do not fully understand her limitations, which was my mistake here. I made a mistake here, as you can tell. I'm going to die. It's my fault. I did not understand the limitations of the ship, and I suffered greatly for it. Now, would I recommend this ship for randoms, ranked, or clan battles? So let's go over each. Now, for randoms, I would say this ship is very good, but difficult to use correctly. I would not recommend for the average player or those who prefer to play more passively, since this ship is a little bit more aggressive. But again, it's a very good ship overall. It just has a high skill floor and a high skill ceiling. Now, for ranked, this ship is excellent. The Tulsa has all the tools to carry ranked matches. It has radar for DDs, sonar to be able to spot Ds in the smoke. Sorry, sonar to spot the torpedoes, and hydroacoustics, of course, for the 5-kilometer spawning ships that are in smoke if you don't have the radar, or to sonar people through islands. Alright, so let's just go back while that's going on. Now, it does have the firepower as well for larger ships, and it also has the concealment and maneuverability as well to do very well in ranked. And it's pretty much its performance is only limited by the player's skill. Now for clan battles, it does have an interesting niche for tier 9. It pretty much is like a mini Des Moines. And pretty much you could play it kind of like how a Des Moines does, usually where they smoke up a Des Moines to get into an island section, or they use something else to kind of move it around if they need to, or get into a nice, strong position to hold. This ship can definitely pull that role very well. Now let's look at the final score of the match. So we did 126,000 damage with 3 kills, 6 fires, 3 citadels, 1 assisted cap. We did okay in this match. It's just in the end, though, I did mess up, and that was my mistake. And I was second on the team, but we did lose that match, sadly. It was mostly my fault due to me misusing that radar. If I would have used that radar properly, I would have gotten a kill on both of those DDs, and we would have won the match. But yep, that is going to be it for the Tulsa video. If you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely let me know. I do love doing these review videos. I want to make sure I do it more properly and make sure that they're well done and researched. But again, thank you guys my final verdict is I would highly recommend this ship to buy. It's definitely worth the 228,000 coal. If you do want to buy it for the doubloons, you can, but again, I would always say just pick the free option, get the coal. The ship is going to be available in around November 10th, when it comes out in the 10.10 patch coming up soon, or it's already out. by the time you're watching this video. But yep, thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later.